It was a normal afternoon for Clint Eastwood, quiet, calm, and reflective as he sipped on his coffee in the comfort of his home. Life had been good to him. He had seen it all. He'd acted, directed, and built a legacy that would be remembered for generations. But that afternoon, Clint received an unexpected email that would change everything. It was from Elon Musk, the enigmatic genius behind Tesla, SpaceX, and countless innovations. "Mr. Eastwood, I would love for you to meet my son. He has something to show you that I believe could alter the course of your life. Please come by SpaceX tomorrow afternoon." Clint, curious but cautious, agreed. He had always admired Elon Musk from afar but never expected to meet his son, especially for something that sounded so cryptic. What could this young boy possibly have to show him that could be so important? The next day, Clint arrived at the massive SpaceX headquarters, a facility that looked more like a futuristic science fiction set than a workplace. As Clint walked through the facility's polished corridors, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was stepping into a world far beyond anything he was accustomed to. There in the center of a high-tech meeting room stood a young boy, no older than 5 or 6, waiting for him. Clint was immediately struck by his intensity. This child was different, more mature than any boy his age. Elon stood beside him, smiling faintly as if he knew what was coming. "Clint, this is my son. He's been wanting to meet you for a while now." Clint, who had spent his career working with some of the world's greatest minds, could sense there was something extraordinary about this child. The boy didn't speak much, but when he did, it was with a calmness that belied his age. Without a word, the boy led Clint down a hall to a quiet room where a peculiar device sat on a table, a sleek black tablet-like gadget that Clint could barely comprehend. "What is this?" Clint asked, raising an eyebrow. The boy tapped a few buttons on the screen and suddenly, a holographic projection sprang to life. Clint watched, speechless as his life unfolded before him. On the hologram, Clint saw moments from his past, his rise to fame, his struggles, the times he had won and lost. But then, something even stranger happened. The hologram began to show scenes from his future, choices he could make, paths he could take, and outcomes he could avoid. The images were vivid, almost too real, and Clint felt a sense of awe and confusion mixed together. "This is your future," the boy said softly, "but it's not set in stone. It can be changed." Clint stood motionless, processing what he had just witnessed. His mind raced. How could a child so young and seemingly innocent have such power? This wasn't just technology. This was something deeper, something that defied logic. "How is this possible?" Clint asked, looking to Elon for answers. Elon's face was calm, but his eyes reflected a depth of understanding that Clint couldn't quite grasp. "My son has a gift," Elon said slowly. "He can see patterns in people's lives. He can look at their past and their choices, and from that, he can predict potential outcomes. But it's not just about predicting. He can influence the paths people take. He doesn't control the future, Clint. He helps people realize the choices they can make to improve it." Clint felt a lump form in his throat. The idea that his future was in someone else's hands, even in the form of a child, was almost too much to comprehend. Yet something about it felt real. He had spent so many years focused on his career, on the public eye, on chasing the next big project. But now, for the first time, he felt like he was standing at a crossroads. Could he really change his future? And if so, how? As the day went on, Clint couldn't shake the overwhelming sense of uncertainty. The child's words echoed in his mind. "Your future can be changed." What did that mean for him? At his age, Clint had seen and experienced so much. He had lived a life full of triumphs and failures, but to think he could change everything now felt like an impossible dream. Before Clint left SpaceX that afternoon, he took a moment to speak privately with Elon. "What's the catch?" Clint asked. "What does your son want in return for showing me this? This is some heavy stuff." Elon looked Clint in the eye, his expression serious but warm. "There's no catch, Clint. He doesn't want anything. He just wants you to see what you can do with the information. It's up to you. My son doesn't make decisions for people. He helps them realize that they have the power to decide their own destiny. Clint, still digesting what he had learned, walked out of the SpaceX facility with a new sense of purpose. He wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time he felt like he had options. The idea that he could change his life, and that he had the power to choose his future, was something Clint had never considered before. In the days that followed, Clint didn't jump into any rash decisions. Instead, he took time to reflect. The power to change his future wasn't about the big Hollywood roles or the fame he had already achieved. It was about the choices he made every day, the people he worked with, the projects he invested in. He realized that there were parts of his life he had neglected, the things that truly mattered to him, beyond the lights and cameras. Clint slowly withdrew from the public spotlight, focusing more on philanthropic endeavors and projects that aligned with his personal values. He started mentoring young filmmakers, quietly changing lives without any need for recognition. It wasn't an overnight transformation, but over time, Clint felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. His meeting with Elon's son hadn't just been about seeing his future. It was about realizing that the power to change was in his hands. And from that moment on, Clint took control of his destiny in ways he had never imagined.